Okay, so there are certain events which are automatically or basically always triggered in specific order. Okay, we don't have to click on some button or nothing. These are not the related to or associated with the controls, but those will be executed in some specific order, which is the page life cycle. Okay, so first we'll discuss what page life cycle is. These are 5 general stages in the entire page life cycle. When we are requesting a page from the server, entire page life cycle is your request from the browser, it goes to the server, and server processes, composes response and send it back to the browser. Okay, which we call a round trip. This is a round trip, and this is the entire page life cycle. So in this life cycle, there are 5 main stages, and we have some intermediate stages also. So those stages are page initialization, loading, post-back control, event handling, like a button click. When we click on a button, it causes post-back. So post-back control, event handling, rendering, unloading. Okay, these are the main 5 stages. Now you will here see some intermediate stages also, and these are the corresponding events for those stages. Okay, so initialization of the page is page init. Then intermediate stage, loading of the view state is this is the event. Processing of the postback data, this is the event. Loading of the page, notification of the postback. So these are the events or the stages in the page lifecycle, which will be executed in this order, top to bottom. Okay, now I'll go in detail what is actually happening in these stages. So before init, the first stage is page pre-init. In the page pre-init, when we are writing code or when we are adding controls in ASPX, how we add controls, we see this code. ASP, text box, ID, text, like this. Okay, so we provide here ID. So in the page pre-init, all the page controls are getting to initialize. It's not fully initialized, but in those controls the IDs are set from the ASPX page. Okay, so they are being initialized here, but initialization is not completed here in the controls of the controls. Okay, another thing what we can do or what happens in the pre-init is we can change or set master page programmatically. Okay, so if you are using some master page is like when we are writing an application, we have multiple pages, and in a practical scenario, all the pages generally follow the same layout. For example, whenever we go to any website, web application, we see different pages like about, shop, but all the pages, if you will notice, there will be same header, same footer, or let's say left menu. So all these things will be common. The main thing is content, which is being changed from page to page. So in about us, it will be some information. In shop, the main content will be some listing of products. So main content is being changed, but other things are common. So in ASP.NET, we have flexibility to use master page. So what we do is the common code we keep in master page. This is the common code. We keep it in the master page, and all the other pages will use this master page. So this common code will be automatically added, and then we can add content specific to that page only. So it is avoiding rewriting of this code, which is layout code and which is common to all the pages. So that is why we use master page. We are going to go in detail with what master page is and how we can use it. This is just a brief of master page. So in page pre-init, whatever master page we are applying to the page, it will be set. Any question, guys, so far, or is it clear? Anyone has any doubt? Are you getting it, Ravikant?
Yes, yes, Tanvi. I am. Yeah.
Okay. The page object. So page init will first create the page object and it will initialize then all the controls within the page. So when we are writing some ASPX page, what we have, the object hierarchy is we have the page object, then in the page object we have different controls like button, text box, drop down. So these are different controls which we are using, but this is like the, it is within the page object. Okay, so init will first create the page object and then initialize all the controls. There is something view state which we are going to discuss in detail. What is view state? So view state information is not available at this point of time. Controls have been initialized. If we are using any themes, skins, skin file are basically to give the look and feel to the page. So those, if we are using, those are applied, and the properties of the controls are initialized like text. So control text box 1 dot text, if we are doing this something ASP, so it will be initialized. Okay, this will be available now. Now init complete. If we want to process, if we want to write some code that requires all the initialization of page and controls to be completed, after that if we want to write some code, we can write in this event, init complete. Then there is a preload event. Again, if some code before page loading starts, if you want to write some code, you can write here. Okay. Another thing what happens in preload is loading of view state. This also happens in preload. What view state is? Yeah, I think again I will have to explain view state. Okay, we'll first see what view state is. Hey guys, can you hear me? Shobana says, and Rupa says I am not able to hear.
That was around 2 minutes back.
This is
it was breaking actually.
Okay. Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ramya, someone has question. Yeah, Ramya. Yeah, Ramya.
Tanvi, this is Ramya. Yeah, I have a question. Basically, I have a doubt. If you know, does the init event for each control gets updated first before the page, or the page init event gets initialized?
No, they are okay. 1 second. Init event is executed. It is not that for every control init is being fired. It is not that. It's not being executed multiple times. What I mean to say is, first of all, in the init, the page object is being initialized and then all the controls are being initialized. But the event is fired one time only.
Yeah, no, Tanvi, what I'm asking is, does the controls get initialized first or the page object gets initialized first? Because I remember
page.
Oh, it's the page, is it? Okay.
Page object first, and then controls are initialized, and then in the page page load event, the controls are added to that page object.
Okay. Okay, Tanvi, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question is there. Anita is asking, what is the difference between init and init complete? Okay. So Anita, in init is like the processing is happening. The controls are being initialized. The properties are being set. Okay. The page object properties or the control object properties. If there are, if you are saying this text box 1, if you have written in your ASP export that button text equal to login, so that button object dot text equal to login will happen here in init. It will be set. Okay, which you can see when you execute the code, you will see login is already written on the button. Okay, so how did it happen? It happened in the init. Properties are set in the init. And init complete is all the properties are set. In the init, it is in processing. It is not completed yet, but in the init complete, it is completed. Okay. Now in the init complete, if you want to access any properties, you can access. But in the init, you cannot access because it will throw you an error because it is in the processing phase. It is not completed yet. Okay. Okay, we'll see something which is view state, because there will be two intermediate stage where you will see load view state and save view state. Okay, if you guys have worked on ASP already, you will feel the difference in the ASP.NET. Yesterday we wrote a form. Okay, so when I request a form from a server, okay, so this is, let's say form comes a text box and a button. Login. So this forms I request from the server, it comes. Now I fill up something here and again I submit the form to the server, which is a post back. Okay, so server will do the processing. Okay, and it will come back like password okay or whatever. Okay, so what you will notice here in the ASP.NET, this information what you have written in controls is preserved. It is not lost. Okay, which will not happen if you are using classic ASP. Okay, this will be lost. So when we are filling up large forms on the internet, okay, and you submit that form, now sometimes you get the error that your password does not match, re-enter the password or some kind of errors. Okay, you forgot to fill up. So let's say it went to the server and come back from the server with an error. Now assume all the data is lost and you have to again refill the form. Okay, how bad the experience will be. So what in ASP.NET is being done, the state of the page. So this was the state. State is when you send this form to the server, the state of the page was this. This was the state that you had this information in the text box, or maybe the information in other controls. Okay, so when your form goes to the server, your state of this page is preserved. It is not lost. Okay, this is what happens through view state. Okay, so what underneath happens is when you send your data to your server, when you post your form to the server with the data, what happens in server? There are hidden elements in HTML. Everyone knows hidden elements in HTML. Like there are other element, input type, select, these are HTML elements which can be interpreted and we can see them on the page like a button or text box. Hidden elements is it is there but we cannot visualize it, we cannot see it, we cannot view it. Those are the hidden elements. So what server does, this information, okay, server saves in hidden field. Okay, hidden field is HTML, it is a markup. Okay, and after composing the response, this hidden field will be sent in the HTML response. Okay, so whatever response you get from the server, plus there are hidden fields related to this information. Okay, now when browser get these hidden fields, what browser does, it will load this information what is in hidden fields. Okay, it will not be as is. Like if I am typing ASP, it will not be as is, it will be in the encoded format. So browser will decode some encoded string and decode it and then again put it in the control here. Okay, this is how the state of the page and the control is preserved in ASP.NET. Guys, is this clear? What view state is this clear? Okay, so in preload, one more thing which I mentioned, it happens, it loads view state for itself, means for page object and for all the controls. Okay, so the loading of view state is happening here, load view state. Okay, so load view state is if browser has gotten or has got some view state, saved view state means hidden fields from the server, it will push that view state back in the controls to preserve the state. Okay, this is what is happening in the preload. So in the preload, load view state and then the page load. Yesterday we saw the page load. So what we do in the page load is we can set properties of the control dynamically. If we have not written in the ASPX source file that text equal to this, so here we can write, okay, text box 1 dot text equal to something. So we can initialize properties of the controls here dynamically, and generally in the load, if we are working with database, we establish database connections in the page load event. Okay. Then control events. Controls event is not actually a part of, it is part of page lifecycle, but not necessarily that it will be executed. If you are doing something with the control, then that specific event will be executed. So if a user is clicking on the button, then button click will be executed. So automatically it will not be in the execution cycle. Okay. Then load complete. Now if you want to perform some task which need that all the loading of the page should be completed, then you can do it in the load complete. Then we have the pre-render event. Pre-render event is just before rendering the page, before sending the output, rendering the pages, generating the markup HTML from the server. So it is just before that. So what happens on the server is first checking off that all the child controls in the page object have been created or not. For this there is ensure child controls method which will be automatically called. Even if you are not doing it, you can override this method as well, but it will be called and it will ensure that all the controls have been created and have been initialized. Okay. Now many times when we are working with database, we'll see it in detail. So when we are working with database, so let's say I have a table in my application and I have a table in my database. Now this table, I want to get data dynamically from this data, from the table in the database. So what do? Is I write some database connection, I fetch from the database, and then I mention this, that for this table in the application, the data source property is table. Then I call data bind method. So when I call this data bind method, that data bind method is actually set, the property is actually set in the pre-render. Okay, and then the data from this data source comes in this control, table control. If we are working with the database, you will see when we will use the database. So this happens in pre-render. So every control or every data control, basically this is done for the data controls. So every data control whose data source data bind property is set calls for its data bind method. This happens in pre-render. Then save state, which happens just before rendering. Okay, so it is actually, you can understand as part of the pre-render. So save state is when you send data, when you posted the page to the server, what did server do? Got your data from the controls and saved it in form of view state. Okay, or hidden fields. Okay, so this is what is happening here. Okay, so view state is encoded and saved for the page and for all the controls. So basically server, before sending output to the browser, server has kept the previous state saved Okay, so that it can be sent to the browser and browser can retrieve it back. Okay, so this is saving of view state. Then render. Render is now prepare the actual output which has to be sent to the browser. So output the controls markup. Markup is HTML. Guys, give me a second. Hello. हाँ मैं क्लास के लिए. I'm sorry guys. So you are basically the server is basically this time generating the actual output of the markup. Markup is HTML. HTML markup language. Okay. After this render event, any changes you are doing to the page object or the control objects are basically ignored. Okay. I mean, if you want to do end time changes and end moment changes, some changes you will have to do in the render event. If you are not doing in the render event, then after that it cannot be done. Okay. Or basically, if you are doing it, is ignored. Then the unload. Then in this unload, you are doing the cleanup task. Like if you have opened some database connection in page load, you are closing the connection here, freeing the unused objects. So page is basically, the output has been sent to the client and page is basically unloaded from the memory. Okay. And in this other cleanup task, like closing the database connection, some files are opened in the program, you can close those files. All these things can be done here. Okay. Guys, tell me if any question, any doubt. Is that clear? Now for the sequence, that this is what the sequence of the program is. We will see a simple example, very basic example. Now actual details, that what we can do in the page load, what we can do in the unload, what we can do in the render. All these things slowly we will do when we are writing multiple programs in multiple classes, different classes. Okay. Here I will just demonstrate how the execution, or sorry, how the sequence happens. In this sequence, the events will be executed. Whatever code I want to explain, or I will explain basically in the class, that code or those examples I have clubbed as a project or as a website, which I will send after this class. So in my slides, you will see in this rectangular area, and this should be the name of the file in the solution. Like it is page lifecycle. So this example related to this topic will be in this page, which is page lifecycle. Okay. Now ASPX page, I don't have anything. It is a normal page which I had. The code is here. I'm using all the events and just see the usage. For each event in ASP.NET, this is what the signature will be most of the time, not always. Okay, so here I am just so that I am just keeping the counter on how many events being executed in the entire page lifecycle. So every event, what I'm doing is I'm just printing the name of the event and the counter and incrementing it. Okay, so this is how you use page pre. If on init, if you have to use, you can use override. It is the method available in the page object, page class, and you can override that method. Then page init complete, page load, pre-render, button click. We have a button. I don't think so. We have a button here, so it will not be executed. Unload. After unload, there is a dispose event also which you can use, which is already available in the page. Save view state. These are another events. It is like whatever event I have explained or whatever stages I have explained, that is part of that stage. Okay, so we can use them as a different event. So raise post data change event, it is happen when we have the post back. In a normal cycle, it will not happen. Load view state and page load complete. Okay, so these are the different events which we have discussed. These are two events. It is only when the post back is happening. Okay, so I have a request for this page to the server, and we'll see the sequence. So pre-init, first event, on init, second, init complete, page load, this is what we just discussed, and page load complete. Okay, now we did not pre-render, render, save view state, which is actually the part of render, unload, dispose. Okay, now those two events which are there, let me add a button. Button click is already here, so I'm just deleting this. Okay. So okay, it was button 1, click 1. So this is the request, first time request, which we have already seen sequence. Okay, now click on the button. Again, init complete, load, button click. Now this time you can see the button click being executed. Pre-render, save, pre-init, init completed, load view state, load, button click, load completed, pre-render, view state, save view state as these two. Yeah, this will happen when I'm changing. I will have to put a text box also. Init complete, view state, load, button click, page load, save view state. I don't know why this event is not being called raise post back event. Ramya, can you help me here?
Tanvi, can you check for the button postback equal to true property? Is it set?
Yeah, it is set actually. I think by default the button is the post back one. So I mean you mean to say auto post property, right?
Yes.
This we don't have to do in case of button because it is the post back control. Raise postback event is only called if the control is the one that causes the postback, which we are doing. It's generally used to raise the server on click event that we are actually doing. Guys, I will figure it out later. We should not waste time here. Actually, it should happen. Let's see again. Strange. Oh, 1 second, guys. Maybe this is what I'm doing wrong. Define the method of I postback event and that raises change event. So we are raising change event button click. Okay guys, I'll just figure it out later. So this is what the sequence is, and as my understanding, these two events also should occur. The raise post data change if we are changing data in the control, and raise postback event if we are raising a postback event through button click or something. In my understanding, it should be executed. I will figure it out why it is not happening or what mistake actually I am doing. Okay, other than this, any question, any doubt? Okay, shall we move on?
Tanvi, I have a question. Actually,
sure.
in page cycle events, you mentioned 11 of them. So, if I want to load one page, I need to do all these 11. What I have to do?
No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. This is I'm just doing to explain. Now you will use whatever event you need in the program. If you want to do something before sending the output to the browser, then you will use pre-render event. It is not compulsory you have to use. I am just demonstrating that this is the flow.
Okay, got it.
If you want to use something, you will use that event. If you want to do something in that event.
Okay.
So most of the time, what event? Yeah, sure.
These 11 methods are available in Page class?
These 11 methods, yes.
Okay. So they
Okay.
have other than
So you-
that, this 11 methods
No,
in Page?
these are the main page life cycle. If there may be anything else, but it will maybe like the intermediate stage, or you can just search on the MSDN and you can find all the page life cycle related events. But I think these are the main events which we generally use.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
I don't
you.
think so you will any other thing other than these.
Okay. Thank you.
So this is just the flow which we have just discussed. So init, which we have already done, init, then load view state, post back data, load. Okay, this is one more thing, this validation. There are some validation events also which occurs on the client side, okay, after loading the page. It is not that it is happening on the server. So what? It may happen on the server, but most of the time it happens on the client. Validate is what? When you have email. Okay, so you want email to be in some specific format. Okay, something then @something.com.in like this. Okay, so you validate before sending data to the server or before posting this entire page to the server. You may want to validate this thing here. Okay, it can be validated on the server also, but the better idea is why to send something to the server which is incorrect. Okay, so better idea is do it on the client. So it may be on the server or maybe on the client. So after loading the page, some validation also can occur if it is there. Okay, then event related logic. Event related logic is whatever event you are causing, the control specific event. Drop down list selection changed or button click, all these. Then pre-render, save view state, render, unload. Okay, so load view state, which we saw, you are pushing data or information from view state in the controls, and here you are saving information from view state into the, you are saving information from controls into the view state. So the same thing is this, this is only the main events which get fired. It is not showing up the details like pre-render, it will just show the render. So these are the main stages. Okay, now this was page lifecycle. Now in an application, we have multiple pages. So before starting a page, before our page object is created, what I did is, when this is the application also running, my application is also running, you can see it is in the running mode. So now in the application I can request multiple pages, like this is the page. Now I have another page. This is another page in the same application. So the another page has been requested. So before page, the main thing is application. You have an application, then within the application you have pages. So now we'll see what application lifecycle is. Okay, before that we will just see this, what session is. Guys, do you know what session is? Do you know the difference between the application and session? It is general to any application, it is not for ASP.NET application.
Session is for the particular user.
For the particular user. Okay. And anyone else? Yeah, it is right, Kasturi. Anything else regarding application session? Okay, I will just go in more detail what an application and session is. Let's say on the server, our application is on the server. Okay. Now I will assume that there is some first user, okay, which comes to the application. Okay. So that time the application is started. First user comes and one session is assigned to this user. okay, which is one session. Okay, next user comes to the application, sorry, not this user, next user, second user comes to the application. Another session is assigned to this user. Okay, so now you are in an application, you start, first application is started. Now you will see application is started only one time. Session is getting started multiple times. Multiple times means whenever your new user is coming and using the application, the session will be started. Now within a session, you can use any page from the application. It will be within that session only. Now in the application, I have page 1, I have page 2, I have page 3. Okay, so I can use multiple pages, page 1, page 2, page 3. This is within the session. Okay, if this user is using page 2 and page 3, this is specific to this session. Okay, now when the session ends, when let's say this user stopped using the application, it is no longer pointing to this application, it can stop using the application. Basically web application can be stopped using by closing the browser, okay, or pointing to some other application. So change the URL or close the browser. So when this user stopped working, one session end. This user stopped working, another session end, and so on. Okay, this is what the application and the session is. Session is not a single machine actually. Let's say I have Chrome, I have started Gmail. You must have seen this if you have 2 Gmail accounts. Let's say I started one Gmail, one user account from Chrome, then another from Firefox. So from the one machine, but this is session 1 and this will be session 2. Okay. Is this clear? What session is? Okay, now we'll see. Ramya has written to parse data during navigation across pages. What question I asked? I don't remember. Okay, difference between the application and session. Okay. Where I am, yes. So application life cycle. Life of application is as long as it has active sessions. It has active sessions. Some sessions are there to the application. If no user is using the application, that means the life has ended of the application. Life begins when web browser requests a start page of the application. Okay, that's where the life begins. Okay, so when the first user comes to the application, then application will be started. Okay, then session will be started. Then the user is basically using some page, so page load, page unload. Life goes on when the user is working on the application, doing something, working with the forms, typing in the text box, clicking on the button. So all this is life is going on stage. In this stage, the event will be all these things. DLL is running. Session is already started. Now what is happening is it is keep on requesting. It can keep on requesting pages in the same session. So same application already started, session already started. Here when life is going on, multiple page load can occur. It can request multiple pages from the application. Some control specific events can occur because it is user is working with the application, so it can cause some control specific events. And when it is done, the page is unloaded. Page unload also will happen within the life is going on, because one page has been requested and got the response back, then it is unloaded. Then the user in the same session is requesting for another page. So multiple page load and page unload will occur when the life of the application is going on. When the life of the application is ending is when none of the user or no user basically using the application. There is no active session to the application. So in that case, there will be some last user just before this case. So that user will leave the application. So session end will occur, and then application end will occur. Okay. This application end, in practical situation, we never see application end event. We never face this event actually, or very rarely we see application end, because like let's say Google is running smoothly. There are millions and millions of users who are using Google every day. So practically, if your application is running over the internet, this is a very rare situation that will come across until your application has a problem and you yourself has to stop the application. So this is just the explanation, more explanation with the diagram of the same thing. So life is beginning is start the DLL, application start, session start, request page, page load, and page unload. Got the response, unload the page. Okay. Life is going on. Client is working with the application, doing something on the forms, then sending request to the server. So more events which control specific events when life is going on. And when life is ending, the server is here. This was the end user. It also started pointing something somewhere else or no longer pointing to the application. So session ends, the application end. Any questions so far? Anyone, any doubt? Ravikant, do you have any question? Okay, so let's move on.
1 minute, Steve. 1 minute.
Yeah, Ravi.
Tanvi, I am in a production call, so I'm recording your session. I will be able to talk to you later. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, do it. No problem.
Yes, Steve. Tell me.
Yeah. So this is, we'll see some underneath detail when we are requesting a page, what is happening. So when a browser is requesting for some resource or a page, resource can be image, video, page can be, there are many pages in ASP.NET, ASPX page, ASMX page. These pages are related to web form which we are working with right now. ASMX are related to web services. There are other pages also. There are ASCX page. It is for user control. So we'll see all of them. So these are the resources in the ASP.NET application. There can be a plain HTML also. It may be also a resource. So whenever user makes a request for accessing application, okay. So how user will access the application? Through some browsing, page browsing, web form browsing. So this request will be sent to the web server. Who is our web server? IIS. When IIS receives this request, the first thing which IIS does or which happens is create the object of application manager class. Okay. Then create the object of hosting environment. If you have some top level items in the application, those are compiled. This is what is happening. Then request and response objects are created. 1 second, I'm not able to go to the page, next page. Okay. Then response, request, context, all these objects are created. HTTP context, HTTP request, HTTP response. Okay. Now, for each request, HTTP application object is created. Okay. This HTTP application object will handle each request. Okay. Now, in this HTTP application object, there are different events which will be raised before processing the request. I don't know why I'm... Okay. So you can see your request comes to the IIS, application manager starts, then application domain, hosting environment. Okay, what application domain does is it is like application pool. On one web server, you can have multiple applications running. Application 1, application 2, application 3. So on one web server, you have multiple applications. So this application pool, what it does basically, it separates one application from another. Okay, so it separates means we cannot, the one application process is not interfering with another process basically, because on the same processor there are two different processes running, for the application 1, for the application 2. So those two applications are totally different. We want to keep them isolated. Okay, this is what is happening with the application pool. Now what happens when for each and every request, this is a client 1 requesting, client 2 requesting, client 3 requesting. For each and every request, HTTP application object is created. And for each and every request, request, response and context objects are also specific to the request. For every request, these objects will be created. Domain, runtime, these are the common objects. Okay, application domain, runtime, these are the common objects. But this will be duplicated or created multiple times based on the multiple request sent. So request 1 will be handled with this HTTP application object, request 2 is being handled with this HTTP application object, and so on. Okay, till now any question? Okay, what HTTP application object is, basically it has some events. When you are requesting, this object will be created and some events are there which will be executed in a specific sequence. Those events are, guys, we will not go in detail with those events, but these are the events. Okay, so whenever you are sending a request to the IIS, to the web server for a resource, for that request HTTP application object is created and these events are being executed. Your request will be first authenticated, then authorized, and so on. Okay, so there is no point to go in all this nitty-gritty. We'll see the main thing what happens in the entire cycle. Now for each request will go through these multiple HTTP modules. There is HTTP module and HTTP handler, two things. Okay, so all the requests will go through the same modules. Okay, and then based on the extension, each request will be assigned to the handler. Okay, so there will be handler written to handle .aspx request. Okay, so if you have a request, this who will filter this DLL, which is within the ASP.NET Engine. This is the DLL. This is another process. This process will filter your request type. So if you have ASPX type, it will assign to the corresponding handler which will handle the ASPX request. If the request is sent for another file extension, let's say ASCX, okay, so this will be assigned to another HTTP handler, okay, which is related to ASPX. Okay, but remember all the requests are going to the common HTTP modules. Modules are not specific, okay, but handler is specific to the file extension. So this is what is happening. So whenever an incoming request is to the web server, this DLL will filter it and all the requests first go through pass through the HTTP modules, and then based on the extension it will pass to the HTTP handler. Now we can also write our custom HTTP handler. Okay, let's say we have a resource, let's say .pdf. We have resource. We want to get RSS feed .rss. So these are another extensions. Let's say these handlers are not already there in ASP.NET. We want to handle these page extensions in a certain way. So we can also write our custom handler. Even our custom modules also we can write. So in every handler, there is a process request. The ultimate implementation is different based on the file extension. So this will be executed and will generate the output or the HTML which has to be sent back to the browser. Okay, any question, any doubt? Okay, this is what we just discussed, HTTP module and HTTP handler. What HTTP module is, it is executed for every request to the application, okay, regardless of the extension. And it is generally used for a common things like security, authentication, statistics. You may want to keep track on how many requests you have got in the application, okay. So you can keep track on statistics because it is being executed for every request, okay. Or logging. You can do error logging or you can do event logging because it is happening for all the requests. So you can do some common things here. It is plugged into the life cycle of a request, okay. So when some request is happening, this HTTP modules will be executed. HTTP handler is basically which runs in response to HTTP request and handles a specific file extension like different file extension. For every file extension, there is a different HTTP handler. It will be assigned to a different HTTP handler. Okay, this is just a simple scenario. Let's say you have a site and you have a logging module, which is HTTP module which we have written for the event logging or error logging, and you have written the PDF handler to handle the PDF files. Now, if I am requesting this resource from the application, PDF resource, if I am requesting, then this handler will be executed and this logging module will be executed, both. And if I am requesting only ASPX page, then only this logging module will be executed, okay? Because PDF handler will only be executed for the PDF resource. This is specific to the extension or specific to the request, you can say, and module is common to both of them, okay. For both the requests, this will be executed. Guys, just let me know if you have any question. Now next is, there are different ways to preserve data in the application, in the session, or within the pages. Okay, there are different methods. One is view state, which we have discussed what view state is. It is available within the page. Okay, we generally save the view state of a page or the controls of the page. Okay, and it happens by default in ASP.NET. Now there is one thing which is, we call them the application state. Okay, application state is which is global to the application or common to the application. Now one application is running, there are multiple users or multiple sessions started. Let's say I am using this session, someone else comes and use this session. Now some variable is defined as application state. Okay, let's say this count is application state variable. Okay, so this session of Tanvi, this session of another user, both can access the same variable. Okay, it is common to all the sessions. Okay, so I can use this count, it can be used or accessed in this session also. Okay, so all the sessions can read or write, which is saved as application state variable. Now session state is specific to the session or specific to the user basically, because session is our one user is using the application. We call it in a web application, one user is logged in and using the application, that is we call the one session. Okay, so now if some variable count is as defined in session, okay, so this can be used in this session. Now let's say this, update it and make it 1. Now this is available in this session also because this is session variable. Now I am saying initially count was 0. Okay, now if this is first reading it, still it will be 0 because it is different for the session. It is not common. Okay, so count is one count is for this session, another count is for this session. Okay, it is specific to the session. Now see a simple example. Generally, the initialization of session and sorry guys. Initialization of application and session state variables is done in a file which is global.asx file. Okay, the name is global file because all the other pages can use it, and you are initializing global variables here. Okay, so all the event, all the session state, application state, we generally initialize in this file, or we should initialize in this file. And all the application and session related events also will be in this file. Okay, so generally a session variable, where do we define or initialize? In the session start. Okay, so in my application on the session start, I am initializing this. This is the way to initialize session state variable. So I am initializing clicks as 0. Okay, then on a page I have button. Okay, and I can count the number of clicks on that button. Okay, within that session, not outside the session. Okay, so here on the button click, what I'm doing is updating the session. Okay, and displaying it. I'll just write it in the code. So this is the code where I will count the button clicks. So I'm just adding a button here. Okay, here I'm counting this, I'm incrementing this session. Session is initialized here in the global.asx. Okay, you can see that this file, whenever you add a file, how you can add this file is the same way we add the web form, add new item, and you will see user control, browser file, data site, generic handlers, source file. So maybe this is added in my application, that is why it is not showing it up. Because this will be the single file in the application. Yeah, now it comes, here is the global application class. So here you can add this file. When you add it, by default you will see all these events will be there. Application start, application end, session start, session end, all these events will be there. I'll just rename the file which I already have. Okay, so here session start, you can see clicks is initialized with 0. Now this is the program I am writing where I am just counting the clicks on this button within the session. Okay, number of clicks 1, 2. Now this is in the same session. Again I am requesting the page. Okay, in the same session I just opened a new tab. I'm in the same session, I requested a new page. Again requested the same page, sorry. And again click on the button. Now see, it is not 1 this time, it is 5. Okay, so because this is in the same session, even though this is the new request. So it is maintained at session level. Are you guys getting it? Now if you will increment and click on button here, it will be 9 this time. Okay. Guys, just give me a second, I'll be back. I'm back, guys. Shall we move on or any question? Can you guys hear me? Okay. So the similar way how you are initializing a session variable and using the similar way you can use application variable. So you generally will initialize application variable in the application start event. Okay. This is what the syntax will be. Instead of session, it will be application. Okay. Again here, when accessing it, it will be application. Here also application. Okay. Now what will happen is the same code. If you will, you guys can just try it at home. The same code, you open one browser and open another browser. The same code will be executed, and basically same variable will be common for both the applications. Okay. It is like common, sorry, for both the sessions. Okay. So start two browsers and request for the same page and do click on the button. Okay. So when in one session button count is reached till 5, you have clicked 5 times, then in the another session or in another browser, if you will click more, you will see it will be 6, 7, 8. Okay, so on. It will not be started again from 1. Okay, because it is maintained as application. And if you will use session in another browser instance, you will see it is starting from 1, 2, 3. You can just try it at home. Okay, so this is what the difference or the usage is basically in the application and session variable. So application variable which is available at the application level for all the session. Session variable is available only to that session. Now within a session we have multiple pages. Okay, so view state is for each and every page. Okay, or it is page specific, web form specific. Okay, so what is view state is when a form is submitted in ASP.NET, the forms reappears in the browser window, but with the all values in the controls. Okay, so that we have already discussed that server is encoding the data what you have typed in the controls and saving them in the hidden fields. While sending the response back to the browser, server sends that hidden fields. Okay, and the browser will retain the information from that hidden fields into the controls. So view state is what it is indicating is the status of the page when submitted to the server. So before submitting that page to the server, this is your status that you have typed here. This was the name. You checked, clicked this radio button of female. Okay, so this was the status. So this status is retained. So view state is encoded string that is used to retain page and the form information between request. Okay, between first time request and post back request. It is sent to the browser within hidden input elements. Now if you will see all page elements not posted back via the standard HTTP post and stored in the string. So whenever you will right click on your source, you will see something like this added in your code. Okay, even though you are not adding it, it is to preserve your page state. Okay, the server has sent it so that your browser can read it and put the values back in the control accordingly. So you will see the view state will be the name and the value pair. Okay, so you will see something like this. For entire page state, it will be just underscore view state. For control specific state, it will be something like the CP1 underscore view state and then encoded string. Okay, so we don't have to do anything in the ASP.NET. It is by default enabled for each and every control. So it is a mechanism for preserving display state within the forms. It is needed because our requests and responses are through HTTP and HTTP is stateless. It is not saving the state. So we will have to do this. And this is the necessity of any web application to save the state. It is generated once all the page code has been executed, but before rendering the response, which we just saw in the page lifecycle. The value of each web server control on the page is serialized into the text as a number of this is the encode scheme, which is being used for view state for encoding the string value into the view state, which is name and value pair. Okay, and then it is outputted as an HTML element. Then when the form is posted back and ASP.NET browser receives the view state, then it will deserialize, decode the information and restore the state of all the controls prior to the post back. So this is basically we don't have to worry about how the encoding is being done, decoding is being done. These are so internal details. We don't care about it. We just want, if we just want to our data to be preserved, we will use view state, which is by default. But many a times, if you have very large amount of data which you are setting on the page, okay, and you know that you have done all the validation and client side, and server is not going to send any error, and you don't want to preserve the data, so that time we should turn off view state. Okay, because if your data is large, so saving the view state will also take time. Okay, so the client response time will be more. So for the faster performance, if you really don't want view state, you can turn it off. And how to turn it off, we'll see it. Okay, Basically, there is in the page we saw this on the first day that there is page director. So if you want to turn the view state for the entire page, then you can add one more attribute in the page director, which is enable view state and false. Okay, and if you want to just turn it off for a control, you can right click on the control, go to properties, and there will be also something view state or enable view state. You can turn it off from there. We'll see this, we'll use it. So this is how the ASP.NET is preserving data within the form. So when you have typed data here, the request goes, your page load, control events all being executed. Within those events, your view state is saved, and before rendering, the response is sent, and the data will be reloaded from view state to the front page. Any question, guys? Any doubt? Okay, these are the application and session related events. So, one second. The application start is the first user visits the start page of your web application. Okay, so first time application will be started when first user comes. Application end, there are no more users of the application. Application begin request at the beginning of each request to the server. Okay, any request is coming, the begin request is being executed. Okay, a request happens every time a browser navigates to any of the pages in the application. Application end request at the end of each request to the application. Session start when a new user visits the start page of the application. Session end when a user leaves the application, either by closing the browser window or by timing out. There is a concept of timeout also, that if we have kept, you must have experienced it. If you use some e-commerce application, then if you have kept your system idle for a long time, so when you will come back, you will see your session has been expired and you will have to again re-log in. That is being done for the security purpose. So if you have kept your system idle, means you are not there, someone may else come and can see your details. So this is also can be done. So session can be ended even by timeout. Okay, these page related events we have already seen, all the events. Some more are there. Page underscore error event is also there, but it is not the part of page lifecycle. It is it is being executed when there is some exception on the page. Okay, then it will be executed. If you are using transaction and some transaction is aborted, then abort transaction will be executed. Commit transaction when you are committing a transaction. Data binding when your some data control is being bounded with some data source from the database. And page disposes when page object is released from the memory. Okay, see the difference between the page load, page unload and page dispose. In the page unload, the page is unloaded from the memory. The page object will be there, but it will not be referred anymore. Okay, so it will be kind of unused object. But page disposed is the garbage collector will basically freeze that memory, will remove that object completely. Okay, so these are few more events related to page, but not part of lifecycle, because this will not be executed in a sequence. This will be executed in some specific situation. Okay, others, init, load, pre-render, we have already discussed. I'm just checking how much time we have left. Guys, few slides are still left, but we'll do it in the next class, because I have to also leave. Okay, any doubt, any question? Okay. So shall we close it off for today then? Okay. So see you guys on Thursday. Thank you everyone.
Thanks, Tim.
Tanvi?
Yeah, Kasturi.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
for Thursday I may join 10 or 15 minutes late.
Yeah, you have to pick up your son. Okay,
Yeah,
Kasturi, no
my
problem.
daughter, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
Kasturi, no problem. Okay. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks, all.
Kirti, you should not leave the meeting. You just be here. I will just talk to you. Let others leave.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me, Kirti, now? Hi, Kirti. No, I cannot hear you, Kirti. Sure.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, Kirti. Yes, Kirti.
Yeah.
I-
So is it
I can hear you, but it is clear, Kirti, but your system, I don't know what is the problem. It echoes the voice.
Oh. Okay. I'm also unable to like figure it out what's the actual problem. Maybe I have to change some of the settings or something.
Okay, no problem, Kirti. You can write also. You just tell me that are you going to start the classes now and how much experience you have got in ASP.NET, your professional background.
Yeah, I have around 4 years of experience. I have worked at Infosys earlier. So
Okay.
actually I have missed, how many classes I have missed earlier?
You have missed 6 classes.
Okay, so starting from, I mean, probably if you can share me some documents or is
Yeah,
there
I
any
will
way
share
I
it.
can
We covered
go-
C# in 6
C#.
classes. Yeah,
Okay,
basic and advanced.
okay. So entire C#.
Entire C# we covered. C# 3.0, 4.0 we will do with link. We have not covered that. Till 2.0 we have covered.
Okay, till 2.0. So is there any way I can hear to the meetings, I mean all those classes, earlier classes, or is there any way you can
Yeah,
tell
there is a
me?
guy, Ravi Kant. You can see he's still in the meeting. He does the recording of the classes. So he may have some or may not have some. So you can just take it from him.
Okay, so probably any email ID or something where I can contact him?
I will forward you his email ID.
Okay, okay. So you have my email ID, right? So it's kirtih.net@gmail.com.
1 second. Let me just. It is KEERTH, right?
Yeah,
Kirti.
h.net.
Right?
kirtih.net. Yes.
At Gmail.
Yes.
Dot is the dot, not the spelling bee, right?
No, no. Yeah, you have written it correctly.
Okay. So Kirti, do you think it will be beneficial for you as you have already experience of 4 years?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Because we are starting from the scratch basically.
yeah, that's good. But I just missed all those classes, so I was wondering if I could just go through all those previous classes. So,
I will send you all the presentations.
yeah, you can share me the presentations as well, so I'll just go through all of them too. So, but now on, I will be joining all the classes from now on.
Okay, Kirti, sounds good. No problem.
Okay. So,
Okay. Anything else, Kirti?
So totally how many hours of classes will this be?
I think it will go till 70 hours at least.
Okay.
And in a week we are doing 7 hours.
7 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
So
3 hours on weekdays, 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour, and 4 hours on weekends, Saturday, Sunday.
okay. Yeah. So on weekends it is 2 hours, and on weekdays it is.
It is 1.5. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So this will be the same time. Continuing later on.
On the Thursday. On the Thursday also the same time.
On weekdays it's in the morning.
Weekend it will be in your morning time.
Okay. Yeah. So you'll be sending the meeting request each and every time?
Yeah, I will send it.
Okay.
Either me or Pushpan will send it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Today I got it. So that's good. Okay. Fine. So apart from that, will there be any assignments, or will there be any live project at the end of the session?
Yeah, at the end we are going to do the project. Okay. And assignments, I keep on giving assignments, but I don't check them. If they have problem, they can just contact me.
Okay.
But I don't keep the microcontrol that if they are doing or not.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Got
Because they are also experienced and professionals, so I don't keep the microcontrol. But I keep giving them assignments.
Okay. So are you able to hear me now? I think there's not much problem for me. So is it clear?
I can hear you, but my voice echoes when I talk to you.
Okay.
I can hear my voice double time.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I will just check if I can change any other settings later, and probably I can fix up this problem next time.
Sure. No problem.
Okay. So actually I just joined the call using telephone just now. So was there any problem even then?
Yeah, then also it was a problem. Now you are using headset, right?
Yeah, now I'm using a headset. Yeah.
Yeah, both time it was echoing.
Okay. So yeah, maybe I'll just check out with the settings and all.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, anything else, Kirti?
I mean, I'm good, so that is it.
Okay. No
so all the course details are covered in, provided in the link there. So
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Kirti. Yeah. See you on Thursday. Bye.
Yeah, sure. Bye.
Okay, I am turning it off. Shobana and Ravikar.
The organizer has ended.